time again, and this week we are going to be making something new, but first of all I thought you would like to see how my fish turned out. So your fish should be with you now, and hopefully you're all really pleased with them. So I did lots of blending on mine, so I blended the yellow into the orange and into the blue, and blended some white in the tail as well. So hopefully you're really pleased with everything you've made. Now this week, this is our last making session. You are going to be making a pot in a pot using a new method, the coil pot method. Okay, so the pot has been made in this plastic tub, so you could use any plastic tub. My advice is to line it. If you haven't got an old square of cotton, you could use some kitchen paper, okay, but a square of cotton is great. So get yourself organised after Pottery Club today. I'd watch this first, find out how you're going to make it, and then have a go. So this is the pot that you're going to be making. So the base of the pot is the same shape as this pot here. It was made in it, okay, and then I made my pot look like a flower, but you don't have to make yours look like a flower. You could do different shapes, and I'm going to show you how to do that too. And then next week you'll be glazing this, and that will be the last session for this these 6 weeks of Pottery Club that you've been doing online with me. So in your bag you've got your clay, and you don't need to work with it all in one go. You can make it in sections, so divide it up into about 4 sections. It'll be much easier for you to manage. And we're going to, as I said, you're going to use a different technique this week. We're going to do coiling. We've been doing some thumb pots. So the first thing I need to do is make sure there's no air in this clay, so I'm just going to squish it about a bit, squash any air bubbles out, so you don't want the pot to explode during firing. And the first thing I'm going to do is make a coil base. So you're going to roll out some sausages. Now this is really important, that you roll onto a cloth surface like this tea towel I've got here folded in half, rather than a plastic surface. If you work on a plastic surface, you're going to find it just sticks. Even if your tea towel's moving a bit like mine did there, you're going to find that it's at least it's coming off. So remember, we've discussed the thickness of clay before. So this is how thick my clay is. It's about 1 centimetre. I'm going to make a few coils. It's probably easier to get it going in your hands first and then roll it onto the cloth. Remember, if your clay goes wrong, don't just fold it in half and start doing it again. It could be trapping air in. So that's 2 coils, and then I'm going to do a third one with the bit I've got here, and then I think I'll make 3 more. So that's 3. Now remember, as we did before, just squish it around a bit, press any air bubbles out, and roll it. If you go too thin, you're going to find your pot becomes very fragile. So I'm going to just end up with 5. Okay. Okay, so I've got my coils all ready to go. So I'm not going to build directly into the pot, I'm going to build onto this cloth first of all, then it's going to go into the pot. Now I need to start off with the base, and the first coil needs to be really tight so you can't see any gaps. And coil it round. And then the next one, butt it up and coil that round. And then pop it onto the cloth or your kitchen paper, and you're going to put it in your bowl. Okay, so that's sitting at the base of the bowl, and the idea of making it in the bowl is that the pot will come out the right shape rather than the clay spreading out too thinly and ending up with a plate more than a bowl. So in the bowl you just need to, with your thumb, join those coils together. Okay, so they need to be secure. You don't want them falling apart when the clay is dry. Now you can start building up the sides in the pot. Make sure you don't trap your tissue, your kitchen paper or your cloth in the clay, so you have to make sure you pull that material tight, and you can squash that into the sides. Now with the next coil, butt it up and start building up the sides. And my last one, I'm going to go round and I'm going to break it off there. Put a little bit in that one. Okay. And I'm just going to have a look where it needs more clay. I think it's slightly lower on this side, so I'm just going to make that one a bit thinner and put it on the top. I'm going to press it down so it's flatter, so it's the right thickness by the time I've joined it together. And then, exactly the same as the base, you've got to join these coils together. So just use your thumb. You don't need to use any water at this stage. If you do add water at this stage, it is going to end up a bit of a sloppy mess, and you want to try and avoid that. So join all that clay together, get rid of all those coils. You can press it into the sides, and the bowl itself is stopping the clay from ending up too thin. You should end up with a successful bowl. Now what you can do now, you can carefully take it out and you can see you've got a bowl. Now what you have got on the other side are the coils still visible. So very gently you have got to smooth those coils out too. Now you don't want to change the shape of your pot, so support the inside with your hand and go over with your thumb again. And I'm joining it onto the last coil. And I need to do the same to the base as well. Get rid of all those marks and make sure nothing's going to fall to bits. You can spend longer on this than me. If your clay is slightly wet, you can leave it to dry a little, but do keep an eye on it so it doesn't dry out too much, and you can go back and keep smoothing it down like this. Now you might find that your pot has changed shape a little bit, but that's fine because you pop it back on the cloth and then put the cloth back in the bowl. Now you can have a bit of fun now because you can create some you can transform your pot into a flower or add different shapes, and you've got some spare clay. Now we're going to do this without the need for a rolling pin. Now you're going to I'm going to add some petals like I did with this one before. So I'm going to have 8, so I'm going to divide these into 8 sections so I know I've got enough clay to do the whole thing. And I'm going to roll the first one out and I'm going to press it down flat, and that's my first one. I'm going to make the base flat, and I'm going to do this with all of them. Press it down, knock the base, make it flat, and keep repeating this. If you've got a rolling pin in your kitchen drawer, you could use a rolling pin too, but watch you don't go too thin. And the last one. Now you could spend time shaping each of these, making them different petal shapes or geometric shapes, whatever you want to do. So I'm going to make mine slightly pointy. Making sure we don't go too thin. And then I'm going to join them on. And you're going to use exactly the same joining techniques that you've used before. So I need to get 4 in 1/2. Okay, so just working out how I'm going to space them. I'm going to use my fork. I'm going to roughen up the clay. See if I was cross-hatching lots and lots of times, and then I need to do that to the area I'm going to join. Then I've got my water handy and a little bit of water on both sides, and the first one goes on. I'm going to go fairly near the top and smooth the petal into the bowl I've just created. And the next one, roughen up the surface. I need to roughen up the petal next to it as well, because it is going to overlap. Bit of clay on there, and then I'm going to smooth it down Number 3. Roughen up the surface, the petal next to it. Yep, fix that on there and smooth that down. I'll do the other side. And then I need to do the other half as well. Fix that one on. And hopefully my last 2 should fit in the gap. So I'm going to roughen up the whole of the surface on the last one because it's going to overlap 2 petals. Now here is where you need to spend a bit of time making sure your petals are the right shape. Just a little bit of water. And the tips of your fingers. Now if your clay has gone a little bit floppy and you think by taking it out it's all going to fall to bits, then leave it to dry a little bit before you take it out and have a look to see what your pot looks like. So this is what it looks like at the moment, and we can see all the joins here. Now you do really need to smooth very gently that pot into the flowers, into the petals of the flowers on the outside as well. So I'll just do a couple, because I'm going to come back and do this later. So it needs to, the finished result should be that you can't see any joins and it's all lovely and smooth. And it doesn't matter if you don't do it all in one go, it's often easier when it's dried a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to put that back in there for the moment, because I'm going to suggest one more thing you can do. Now, at the base of my pot I've put some little holes just to suggest some seed heads in there. So think about what tools you've got. I'm just going to use this fork and I'm going to put some little holes in there to suggest the texture of a real flower. That's all I've done. And then the other thing you could do, you could do some mark making on your petals, some lines perhaps. It's completely up to you what you do. So I'm just going to do this on a couple and then show you. So you could just do that on your petals, and when you're happy with everything, then just change the direction of some of your petals to give them a little bit of movement. And the last thing you need to do on your pot, don't forget this because it's very tricky for me to identify your work once I put it in the kiln, is to put your initials on it. Okay, you don't need to write your full name, you just need to put the letter of your first name and the letter of your second name. And then leave it to dry in your pot. And then when you're ready to take it into school for Friday morning, take it out of your pot. Then you could leave it in the paper you've wrapped it in. I'll show you what happens if I put it on tissue paper. So you could leave it on your paper like that and hand it back in like this. Now you've all got big shoe boxes now, so there should be plenty of room in there for this. Now if you would like particular colours, can you please send me a message, or get your mums or dads to send me a message? I've painted this one with literally just yellow and green. I've simply got two colours. Okay, so think about what your finished product is going to look like and choose your colours. Okay, so if you don't request any colours, I'm probably going to put red, yellow and blue, 3 primary colours in your pack, plus a bit of black and some white, and then you can have a play around with mixing your colours. And remember, you put the green glaze all over the top, and that helps it go shiny, also strengthens it as well. So good luck with your pot making this week, and I'm really looking forward to seeing your pots when I collect them from your school on Friday. So goodbye, and see you for the last session next Tuesday, and then the week after I'll just bring everything back into school for you after it's fired, and that will be the end of the 6-week pottery course. So bye bye.